لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين وحبيب رب العالمين. So a quick recap of the minor signs of the Day of Judgment that remain. One of them is that the mountains move. Another one is the fire from Hadramaut. And next we were speaking about the gold, the mountain of gold, or the treasure of gold coming from which river? Euphrates. The Euphrates, or Al-Furat, it passes through Iraq. It passes through Iraq. And it's been, if you've heard or you've been monitoring the water levels, they are getting lower and lower. And it's been that case for some years now. All of this, you see, subhanallah, it fits in with the fact that Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam received this information by revelation, so it's something known with certainty. And then all of these, let's say, pieces have been falling into place since he passed alayhi salatu wassalam, and that was also a sign of the Day of Judgment. One of the matters that must occur before the horn is blown into. So since that time, most of the matters that he said alayhi salatu wasalam would occur have occurred. Again, this strengthens the fact that he was a prophet, and that when he spoke and mentioned matters, Islamic matters, that he only spoke through revelation. Allah revealed, وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. The Prophet ﷺ would not speak from his own desires, but he would speak through or by way of revelation, conveying to the people what Allah has revealed to him. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يحسر الفرات عن جبل من ذهب. The Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. فيقتل عليه الناس. People will die because of that gold. فيقتل من كل 199. Out of every 199 will be killed. They will kill each other. كل رجل ويقول كل رجل منهم. Every man among them says, لعلي أكون أنا الذي أنجو. Maybe I'll be the one that gets out safe. Maybe I will be the one that gets out alive. So much gold. How can I pass the opportunity? I live comfortably. My wife will live comfortably. My children, my parents, all that gold. Stick my hand out and take it. That will be the case for most people. They will stick their hand out and take it. But before they can escape, before they can escape on a clear path, someone will stop them and kill them and take it. And that person also, when they're trying to run away with the gold, someone else will come and kill them and take it. So the Prophet advised us, alayhi salatu wasalam, this is going to happen, so don't take it. By taking it, you pose a great, you yourself, by taking it, that poses a great threat to your life. And in that also there is the message of don't run after the worldly matters. Don't run after the worldly matters. A person should be content with the little they have if they are obeying Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. In another narration, يُوشِكُ الْفُرَاتُ أَنْ يَحْسِرَ عَنْ جَبَلٍ مِّنْ ذَهَبٍ. The Euphrates is about to uncover a mountain of gold. فَإِذَا سَمِعَ بِهِ النَّاسِ. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, when the people hear of it, سَارُوا إِلَيْهِ. They will stride, they will run, they will rush towards it. فَيَقُولُ مَنْ عِنْدَهِ. Those that are there will say, لَإِن تَرَكْنَا النَّاسَ يَأْخُذُونَ مِنْهُ لَيَذْهَبَنَّ بِهِ كُلِّهِ. If we leave everybody else to take from it, it'll finish. They'll take all of it. Nothing will be left for us. فَيُقْتَلُ مِنْ كُلِّ مِئَةٍ تِسْعَةٌ وَتِسْعُونَ. Like this, out of every 199 will be killed. In another narration, لا يزال الناس مختلفة أعناقهم في طلب الدنيا. That the wealthy people, even the wealthy people, already wealthy, and the people of worldly status, they will still be after the world. They will still want more. To finish speaking about Al-Furat, I'll mention one narration. You see, the Prophet ﷺ, for most of these matters, he didn't mention a timeline as to these matters occurring in a particular order. Sometimes that order is understood from certain indicative, let's say, details. Other than that, he mentioned, for example, in one hadith he might have mentioned 5 of the signs. In another hadith he might have mentioned 6 signs, but 2 of them were from the 5 that he mentioned earlier, and so on, like this. So in one hadith he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, he said, يَقْتَتِلُ عِنْدَ كَنْزِكُمْ ثَلَاثَةً كُلُّهُمْ ibn Khalifa. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, 3 people, each one of them is the son of a caliph or of a leader. Each one of them is the son of a leader. Meaning someone who perhaps is a king, a president, a leader of some sort. Each one of them will be the son, each one of the 3 will be the son of a leader. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, he mentioned in this narration, ar-rayatu sud. He mentioned black banners. Now this concept of the black banners, it is literal, but it also expresses to the Muslims, it expresses an army marching, carrying black banners. A Muslim army marching, coming from the east, from Khurasan. Now Khurasan, it includes, it's the old name for a group of countries, one of them being Afghanistan, one of them being Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. These are some of the countries that are included in the old, let's say, Khurasan. Uzbekistan is included as well. So the Prophet ﷺ had said that if you see the black banners marching or coming from that area, what's understood from that is that it's an army. Then he said ﷺ, إذا رأيتموه فبايعوه ولو حبوا على الثلج. He said, if you see that army, then know that they have, and this is going to come a little later, but I told you the hadiths, they have different things in them. He said what means that in them, in that army is the Mahdi, meaning that they follow the Mahdi. And he instructed alayhi salatu wasalam that when the Mahdi does appear, Al-Mahdi, then go to him, فَبَايِعُوهُ وَلَوْ حَبْوًا عَلَى الثَّلْجِ, then pay allegiance to him, even if you have to crawl on snow or ice to do that. Meaning, even if you have to endure some difficulty to get there, then get there, or at least pay allegiance to him. But more of that we'll mention, inshallah. More of that we will mention. Next, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned one of the minor signs of the Day of Judgment that has not yet occurred. He said, ثُمَّ هُدْنَةٌ تَكُونُ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَ بَنِي الْأَصْفَرِ, that there will be a truce, a hudna, a peace treaty between you and Bani al-Asfar. Bani al-Asfar, this is a title given by the Arabs to the Europeans, or today what we would consider to be the West. In some narrations, the Prophet ﷺ referred to them as Ar-Rum, because Ar-Rum, the Romans in his time, they were leading the West, what was west of Arabia. So he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, ثُمَّ هُدْنَةٌ, then there will be a truce, تَكُونُ بَيْنَكُمْ, between you, وَبَيْنَ بَنِي الْأَصْفَرِ, and between, literally, the sons of yellow, meaning the Romans or the Western powers. فَيَغْدِرُونَ, and they will betray you. Before I go forward, what's happened in the last, let's say, 20 years? You could go further back, but what's especially happened in the last 20 years, things have accelerated very, very rapidly. One of the signs of the Day of Judgment was that the Prophet ﷺ said that the non-Muslims, they would surround you just like people surround a plate of food, as is the sunnah way to eat, to place all the food in one tray or container and for people to gather around. Like that, he said, the people, the different groups, the different nations of non-Muslims, they would gather around you and they would stab at you, they would take from you. In the past 20 years, in the past 20 years, or even the past 100 years, you could say, or slightly more than that, with the dismantling of the Muslim Caliphate, with the dismantling of the Ottoman Empire, and then with the invasion of Iraq, and then with what happened in Afghanistan, and then, the situation changed a lot for the Muslims. But one of the main things that happened about 100 years ago was the fall of the Caliphate. And the Prophet ﷺ, he was asked, O Messenger of Allah, why will they be able to do this to the Muslims? Is it because we will be very small in number in the future? He said, no, you will be very large in number, which is the case today. But he mentioned a couple of reasons. One being that many Muslims will have love for the worldly matters, and that distracts them from the religious matters, in putting in the correct effort with the sincere intention. So this was foretold, this was mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ. And up until a year ago, or just more than a year ago, it brings us closer to understanding some of these hadiths and some of the things that haven't yet happened. So he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, a truce will occur between the Muslims and Bani al-Asfar, which is the Western powers. فَيَغْدِرُونَ, and they will betray you. فَيَأْتُونَكُمْ تَحْتَ 80 غَايَةٍ تَحْتَ كُلِّ غَايَةٍ 12,000. And they will come to you after betraying you. They will come to you with 80 flags. Now this is an expression of how many people there will be in that army that is sent. And they will come to you with 80 flags, under each flag 12,000 soldiers. That's an army of almost 1 million people. Narrated by Al-Bukhari in his Sahih. 960,000 people. In another narration he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, سَتُصَالِحُونَ الرُّومَ صُلْحًا آمِنًا. You will engage, the Muslims, you will engage in a peace treaty with the Romans, meaning the Europeans. فَتَغْزُونَ أَنْتُمْ وَهُمْ عَدُوًا مِّنْ وَرَائِكُمْ. And you together with them, you will join forces, and together with them you will fight a common enemy. فَتُنْصَرُونَ وَتَغْنَمُونَ وَتَسْلَمُونَ. And you will win, you will be victorious. Together, you will be victorious. And you will take spoils of war, and so on. ثُمَّ تَرْجِعُونَ حَتَّى تَنْزِلُوا بِمَرَجٍ ذِي تُلُولٍ. Then, after the battle, you will be in a place, you will, on your return, so this is a Muslim army, mixed in with the non-Muslim army, those that fought together. And you will be in a place where there is greenery and many hills, whether there are sand dunes or Allahu A'lam, where that battle is to take place, and it will be clear once it happens. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, when you're in that place, one of the people among the Christians will raise the cross and say, victory be to the cross. فَيَغْضَبُ رَجُلٌ مِّنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ فَيَدُقُّهُ. This will anger one of the Muslims, and as a result, he will kill that man. فَعِنْدَ ذَلِكَ تَغْدِرُ الرُّومُ. Then at that point they will betray you. وَتَجْمَعُ لِلْمَلْحَمَةِ. And they will start to prepare for the malhama. The malhama, it's known that it is the epic battle, the great battle, or a cataclysmic battle where there will be so much destruction. And there will be a number of battles like this, malhamas, towards what is known as the end of times. Malhama. And those Muslims, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that will be there at that time, they will rush for their weapons and they will be killed. They will be killed. فَيُكْرِمُ اللَّهُ تِلْكَ الْعِصَابَةَ بِالشَّهَادَةِ. Allah will grant them a shahada. In another narration, when they are in that area, this is the narration of Al-Imam Ahmad now, when they are in that area where there is greenery and there are hills, whether they are sand dunes, whether they're going through the desert or there are other there are other hills made of rock, mounts. فَيَقُولُ رَجُلٌ مِّنَ الرُّومِ. One of the people among الروم, or rather he will stand, فَيَرْفَعُ الصَّلِيبَ. He will stand raising the cross. وَيَقُولُ أَلَا غَلَبَ الصَّلِيبَ. Don't you see that the cross was victorious? As though he's saying, it is the cross that gave us victory. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. فَيَقُومُ إِلَيْهِ رَجُلٌ مِّنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ فَيَقْتُلُهُ. A man from amongst the Muslims, he goes to him and kills him. فَعِنْدَ ذَلِكَ تَغْدِرُ الرُّومُ وَتَكُونُ الْمَلَاحِمُ. It is then that the Romans, that those people betray you, and then these grand wars, these battles will begin. فَيَجْتَمِعُونَ إِلَيْكُمْ. They will gather then. فَيَأْتُونَكُمْ فِي ثَمَانِينَ غَايَةٍ. And they will have with them 80 flags. So in the past, they used to carry banners. After, let's say, each mile, as the army was coming, after each mile there'd be another banner, and then another banner, or however many meters, 50, 60 meters even, there'd be another banner, like that. So they would bring with them في 80 غاية, 80 flags or 80 banners. In this narration, مع كل غاية 10,000. 10,000 under every banner or flag. That's an army of 800,000 people. Almost 1 million. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that this army would be a Christian army. Allah knows best. If you do a quick search and you look at active duty personnel. You find the top 5 countries, they are, actually if we include the top 6, number 6 is Pakistan. Number 5, North Korea. North Korea, 1.3 million active duty personnel, it says. The US, 1.3 million. India, number 3 is 1.4 million. Russia, 1.5 million, number 2. And China, 2 million. Allah knows best. But the Prophet ﷺ said that it would be a Christian army. So we do not know the ghaib, we do not know the details of what we were not told about. We are given specific details, that this will happen and this will happen and that will happen. So one of us might think now, well, okay, subhanallah, this seems like that jigsaw. In my mind, that jigsaw is going into that place there. But Allah knows best, we can't be 100% sure. One of us looks today, which country, Christian country, let's say, holds on to its religiosity or its values strongly. Which country is it that there are not as many in comparison atheists or people now going towards not believing in the Christian beliefs? And someone might look at this and they start to make a few calculations. Allah knows best. But what we do know is that the Prophet ﷺ was truthful, because what came to him was via revelation. In another narration he said alayhi salatu wassalam, تصالحون الروم, you will engage in a peace treaty with Ar-Rum, the Western powers. 10 سنين, for 10 years. صلحا آمنا يفون سنتين. They will only abide, they will only stay true to this pact, this truce, peace treaty for 2 years. So the treaty is a peace treaty for 10 years, but they will only, Ar-Rum will only, if you will honor that treaty for 2 years. وَيَغْدِرُونَ فِي الثَّالِثَةِ, in the 3rd year they will betray. The narrator doubted. He said, أَوْ يَفُونَ أَرْبَعًا وَيَغْدِرُونَ فِي الْخَامِسَةِ, or they will stay true to the treaty for 3 years, and in the 4th year they will betray you. فَيَنْزِلُ جَيْشٌ مِّنْكُمْ فِي مَدِينَتِهِمْ, then an army of Muslims among you will go to one of their cities. فَتَغْزُونَ أَنْتُمْ وَهُمْ عَدُوًا مِّنْ وَرَائِكُمْ وَوَرَائِهِمْ, and you will join forces with them even though they betrayed you. You will join forces with them and fight a common enemy. And similar details. Next, we're going to talk about, so that's to occur. So far we've mentioned the mountains, we've mentioned the fire from Hadramaut, we've mentioned the Euphrates, we've mentioned the peace treaty with the Europeans. Next, we're going to talk about Al-Mahdi. Al-Mahdi was mentioned in the hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on many occasions, on so many occasions, that there would be a man that would appear, a righteous Muslim man, that would appear towards the end of times. We call it the end of times because it's closest to the Day of Judgment compared to other times that are before it. So many times was his title mentioned, Al-Mahdi, the guided one, that the scholars said that it is known by way of mass witness transmission. So many of our Prophet's companions, alayhi as-salatu was-salam, heard this from the Prophet, and the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam mentioned it so much that it is something that is known to be amongst our belief, that it's something that's coming. Okay? So it's not something that we have any doubt about. So Al-Mahdi himself, he is a person whom the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned saying, as was narrated by Abu Dawood, Al-Mahdi min itrati min waladi Fatima. He said, the Mahdi is a special person from my lineage. Al-Mahdi min itrati min waladi Fatima. From the lineage of Fatima, who is the daughter of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. The Prophet said alayhi salatu wassalam, his name will be like my name, meaning his name will be Muhammad, and his father's name will be like my father's name, Abdullah. So just as our Prophet is Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, like that Al-Mahdi, his name will be Muhammad, and his father's name is Abdullah. And just as there are signs for the Day of Judgment, the scholars detailed signs for the appearance of this righteous man. Remember, this man is not a prophet, of course. Rather, he is a righteous, knowledgeable, noble, and blessed man. What is his purpose? His purpose will be to gather the Muslims after they have become separated. He will be the rightly guided, the caliph of the Muslims. So he will be the Khalifa. Being the Khalifa means that he will have the support of all of the Muslims. So just as an example, he will be the supreme leader, as the caliph always is, the supreme leader of the Muslim world. So the different countries, the different Muslim countries, they will not have their independent armies anymore. Rather, they will come together as one unified Muslim army. This army that was throughout time divided and hence conquered, this army that was divided by feeding the people this idea of independence from other countries, be your own nationality, and so on and so on, and then race also. to split the Muslims like this. This is the purpose of Al-Mahdi. Then all the Muslims, they will pay allegiance to him. We'll mention more details about him, but one of the biggest signs, one of the greatest signs of the closeness of his appearance is that there would be a lot of injustice in the world. A lot of injustice in the world. A lot of sins taking place, especially when it comes to money. People, groups, whole companies, states and some governments engaging in what is Islamically considered corruption when it comes to money and the way that it's used and how property is distributed and how a person may be fined for something that Islamically they shouldn't be fined for, and like this, and other injustices like mass murder, which has occurred many times in the nation of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. When the legions among the Mongols, the legions of Genghis Khan, when they attacked Baghdad, they might have killed over 2 million Muslims and then burned the villages and so on. So this has repeated itself quite a lot in history. But now, especially now, if we talk about certain transactions that take place, then those transactions by themselves, you would see how widespread they are. Then add to that the injustice of kufr, the injustice, the spread of the drinking of alcohol, the spread of fornication, and like this. So a lot of injustice. This is the biggest sign that signifies the closeness of the emergence of Al-Mahdi. Scholars, hundreds of years ago, they would say, we are in those times, and then things got worse. And like this, until nowadays. The Mahdi is not somebody who was born 1,000 years ago and is alive from 1,000 years ago, as some might claim. Rather, his birthplace is Al-Madinah, Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, as our Master Ali radiyallahu anhu said. Of course, he was narrating that from the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. How else would he have known about something in the future? Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu anhu is not a prophet. So Al-Mahdi, his birthplace is Al-Madinah. Likewise, the parents, the mother and the father of Al-Mahdi, they are described as being Madaniyan from Al-Madinah. The scholars differed in opinion. Is Al-Mahdi, is he from the lineage of Al-Hasan or from Al-Hussein? So the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, his lineage, anybody who today has the noble lineage of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, that lineage comes through one person, and that is the daughter of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, Lady Fatima. And this is an exception because usually the lineage doesn't go through the female. It goes through the male. That's how the lineage is passed on. But this is a special case. Lady Fatima, she had two sons, Al-Hasan and Al-Husayn, radiyallahu anhuma, the two grandsons of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, both very pious, righteous, noble and blessed men. So whoever now claims that they are from the lineage of the Prophet, that they are from the family of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, that he is their great-great-great-grandfather, then their lineage must go through either Al-Hasan to Lady Fatima and then to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, or through Al-Husayn, goes all the way back to Al-Husayn, to Lady Fatima, and then to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The father of Al-Hasan and Al-Husayn, and Al-Husayn is Sayyiduna Ali radiyallahu anhu. So some scholars made the case and they said that Al-Mahdi, he is Hasani. He's from Sayyidina Al-Hasan. And some, they made the case that no, he is Husayni, from the side of Sayyidina Al-Husayn. The fact of the matter is that it's not something that is confirmed by the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, whether he is Hasani or Al-Husayni. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Yuslihuhu Allahu fi layla." That when Al-Mahdi appears, and there are different narrations about when, or rather, there are different narrations about how old he will be when his matter becomes apparent. In some narrations it's mentioned between 30 and 40. In another narration, which is more reliable, there is mentioned 40, when he reaches 40 years of age. He will, but the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam didn't pinpoint when exactly that would be. Rather, he described what the situation would be like at that time when he would appear. So he is, of course, a human being. Like we said, born in Al-Madinah, his parents from Al-Madinah, and so on and so forth. So the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam also described in some hadiths his facial features. And he described what he would do. And we're going to speak about that, insha'Allah ta'ala, in the next session. With a reminder that the Mahdi will be alive at the time of the descent of the Messenger of Allah, Jesus alayhi salam. So because their paths will cross, because their stories are interlinked, it's important to mention about Al-Mahdi first, and then to mention Prophet Jesus alayhi salam. So we'll do that in the next session, to describe Al-Mahdi, to say a little bit more about him, about his character, a little bit more about a little bit more about him, and then we will move on to mentioning Prophet Isa alayhi salam.